Welcome to Cold Coffee Chats, the podcast where we dive into the beautiful chaos of motherhood, the ups and downs of marriage, and the journey of growing our faith. I'm Brittany.
I'm Aubrey.
And we're your host. Each week, we'll gather around the table, coffee cups in hand, to share stories, insights, and a good dose of laughter. Whether you're navigating the sleepless nights of new parenthood, balancing the demands of family life, or seeking deeper connections in your marriage and spiritual journey, this is the space for you. Together, we'll explore the real, the raw, and the relatable moments that shape our lives. So go find that cup of now cold coffee that you probably laid down somewhere, get comfy, and let's chat about the beautiful mess of life. Episode.
We're back.
We're back. Guess who's back?
Not really one.
I think this is episode 11 or 12.
Is it? Have we done 12?
Maybe. I don't know. Let me look. I started numbering them. But anyways, we have our friend Bree here today. And she's...
Hello. She brought her baby.
She brought the baby.
How old is he now?
5 months.
Wow, already. He's been so many places already.
Yes. World traveler.
Did y'all go to Epcot while you were in Disney?
Speaking of world,
like
so many times.
Oh, like he's been to all the countries.
Yes, and all everywhere. Because you were the one that told us like we needed to try the ride at Epcot, right? Yeah, and we did it. So good.
Did you like it?
Yeah, I was like, okay, we have to do this.
That's our favorite.
Which ride?
See, I told you I was going to draw a blank when you asked me questions.
Is it Guardians of the Galaxy?
Yes, that is it.
Guardians. And like we don't know anything about.
Oh, I don't
Star
either.
Wars.
I've never watched it.
Yeah,
No
it's
idea
not
anything.
Star Wars.
It's not.
No.
What is it?
It's like the Avengers and is it Marvel or is it
It's
Marvel,
a fun ride.
it's a fun
Yeah,
ride.
we never have great Epcot experiences, I feel like, because we always go when like midweek when we're like tired and need a boost.
So many people say that to me.
But it's like my favorite.
Yeah, it's Marvel.
Oh,
It's like superhero.
what do I know?
I
Anyway,
wish I watched it.
10
I
out of
should
10.
know what I'm writing.
yeah. I say that every time. I'm like, oh, we need to go home and watch those movies. Or like we took the kids to Universal and I've never seen the Harry Potters.
Neither have I.
Yeah, and I'm like, we should watch the Harry Potters. We should have a series. Like,
I love that you're calling it the Harry Potters. Like not the Harry Potter series. The Harry Potters. Oh, there's multiple. I don't know. Not multiple
I've never
Harrys.
how would you say the Twilight series?
The Twilight series. Not the Twilights.
Okay, what
do you say that?
I don't know. The Twilights.
The Twilight. Yeah. Oh, you don't say that. You say the Twilight movies. Or
Okay.
Oh,
He's like, you guys.
have you read a lot of books? Huh? You want to go home and watch Twilight?
His very first ride ever for anything was the Donald Duck ride at Epcot
Oh,
in Mexico.
the Mexico. The
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah, I'm always like, it's a small world, but
Mm.
Mexico.
I hate that ride.
It's a small world.
I hate it. I rode it when I was pregnant with Ellie, and I have not been back.
It's so, oh.
It's so scary to
It's the dolls.
the
it's-
dolls. Like, I hate it.
It's my mom's favorite right now.
It's Cindy's favorite too. But I cannot.
Yeah.
I sit out. I literally sit out and wait for them.
I'm like, if the wait is 50 minutes, no. Like, if it's like walk on time, but I'm like, why is it 50? Like, why are we waiting?
It's like, probably because the boat like malfunctioned.
But if you need a nap, like if the kids
That's
need a
true.
nap, solid. Nap
Yeah.
every time. I'll never forget the first time we went into the Hall of Presidents and like, we didn't know what it was. Me and Aubrey and my parents. And we got like the church giggles in there because we were like, seriously, we waited for this, like the little like fake man to come on the stage.
I've been on it forever, and I cannot remember.
It's like this.
It's
you're
a
like-
theater.
yeah, it's like a
Yeah.
huge theater, and you think, oh my gosh, this is going to be a great show.
Oh.
Yeah.
And then it's like these like wooden puppet people.
I still think Deb loved it, but
He
we're
did.
like,
But me and Aubrey were like laughing hysterically, like obnoxiously, like trying to like. I was crying. Like I remember my note. Like it was
yeah.
awful.
it was
And
like the silent laughter that's like
Yeah,
the wheeze.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
and I was like, why am I laughing? But I think it was just because like I had so much like expectation. Like, oh, this is going to be a really fun show.
Right.
Like, no real people.
I swear they put like rides in there like that to make all the other ones seem like really good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. This was not going to be a Disney podcast.
No,
but we just turned it
sorry.
into a Disney podcast.
But you talked about Musty and
Musty.
shoulding not should I not
What did you
be breathing in?
It sounded like
Just
you said
let me
a
go
curse
with it.
word. Literally check the box that says like we don't curse. So
I didn't.
that was what were you?
That we should not. But I was saying it in a past tense. Anyways, rude. That we should not be breathing in mold and musty things. To segue into, you're on kind of a crunchy journey. Yeah.
Yeah. Would you like consider yourself like very crunchy, a little crunchy, kind of crunchy, like crunchy-ish?
It depends.
Like I think there's different levels, right?
Yeah.
With our food, I'm probably pretty crunchy compared to the standard American. I mean, our kids, Allie's like on top of everything. Like she will go to your kitchen and start reading ingredients and tell you why you should not be
Oh my gosh,
buying.
stop.
I need to borrow her for
I
like
know.
a day. She probably just be throwing everything away. Yeah, she's like, this has high fructose corn syrup in it.
Sponsored by White House Foods, serving generations of consumers since 1908.
Try to teach them why we don't eat what we don't eat, so that they don't feel like I'm just taking everything away, because it's in everything in America. So when they learn the whys, then they get really worried about their friends, and they'll be like, or Emmett will come home and be like, so and so had a red lollipop. Like we do us. Like we learn things when we know better. We do better, but we don't have to go yelling this to everybody that doesn't know yet or isn't, cautious right now. But oh my gosh, that is a hard balance with kids, because like they learn to care so much, and you don't want to like damper that, but also like
build that filter.
Yeah, we gotta have a little filter. Yeah. So before we get into it, tell us a little bit about your family. Like how many kids you have, all that. Okay, so Jeff got one of those. Jeff and I have been married for 10 years this summer. This June will be 10 years. How old are, if you want to say, how old are you guys? Because you got married pretty young, right? 31. Yeah, so you got married at like 20, 21. Yeah,
little babes.
We were 10 years in June, and then we had Allie the next year. So Allie was born just a couple weeks before our 1-year anniversary. So we now have 3 kids. River is our grand finale. He is our surprise baby, and he's like 5 months. Yeah, so there's a 6-year difference between our middle and River, the baby. So
what's the age difference between Allie and Hill?
2 years. Yeah. 2 years and 2 months. When they found out you were having a baby, what was their reaction? Were they like ecstatic? Were they like, what? They were ecstatic. Oh, that's great. It took me a while to get my head wrapped around it. Before Jeff and I got married, I was like, I need you to know that I want 6 kids. Like, I want at least 6 kids. Like, I want my house full. I don't know what I was thinking. I babysat a lot, but then, you forget you get to go home after you're done babysitting. When you have your own kids, you don't get to go home. Like they are, this is your circuit with you. Yeah. So after we had Emmett, and after Emmett turned 3, I was like, we're done. Like, I cannot do anymore.
I feel like it does something to you when your kids have that small of an age gap too, like having these 2 toddlers that are just like going AWire.
Very hard. Yeah. I was gonna say Aubrey's like that same age gap.
Yeah. And after Rose, I was like, I was like, all right, you gotta go. Get yourself situated.
But then, so for like a couple years, I was like, I had my mind set that we were done, that this was, good. I felt like I had 6 kids. And then Emmett went to preschool a couple days a week. But then once he graduated preschool, it like all started hitting me again. And I was like, there's going to be no babies in our house for the first time in 7 years. Like between Allie and Emmett, like one of, I always had somebody in the house, and Emmett was getting ready to start kindergarten. And I was like, I was going back and forth. Like, I don't know if I want one more, if we're done. And then they started school that fall, and I found out my sister was pregnant. And I'm like, okay, like this is sweet. Like I'm ready to enter the auntie phase, like having the baby. Like I had Jack and Oliver, but they're going to school too. And so I was like, okay, I'll have a baby. Like that'll be my fix. Just, embrace this season. And our kids are getting older. Like Disney is still fun, but they're ready to go do other stuff. So like they wanted to go to Alaska with us and stuff like that. So we booked our Alaska trip and we always go to Disney for Christmas. And that's when we went to Disney, like halfway through our trip, I was like so puffy in the face and I just was exhausted. And then I woke up 2 mornings in a row and like the thought of coffee just made me want to puke. And I looked at Jeff and I was like, there's a baby. we're not gonna have a baby. And he was like, what? And I was like, I'm serious. Like, I know this feeling. And sure enough,
That's crazy.
yeah. And so we were not expecting a third at all because like I had just had in my head that, we were done.
So did you like still have all your baby stuff, or like had you like kind of gotten rid of baby
I
stuff?
did have a lot of it.
Okay.
I had started giving stuff away.
Mhm.
Like if, because I was doing hair on the side.
Mhm.
And so a lot of times I would have clients with kids and they would, mention that, their baby was moving up in sizes or whatever and they need the clothes and I'd be like, I have a whole box. Let me go find it, and I would started giving stuff away. So I still had like both of their cribs and
Okay.
I had a lot of clothes still, but once we found out that he was a boy, I got rid of all of the girl stuff, Allie stuff. And so we still have a good bit of clothes and we had Emmett's crib as Rivers, but
That's good. I was like, had you like really like, so you had
Signed
some
out.
things.
I just hadn't got to it, to be honest. It was in the basement.
Hey, it worked.
And I kind of was keeping stuff because I knew my sister was going to have a baby too. So I was like, let's just wait till I find out what she's having. And then
So your sister has a
boy. Mm-hmm.
Oh, so they're pretty close.
They're 5 months apart.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I bet she loves that. Like, she excited.
Yes.
It's funny.
Grow up together.
I remember like the last time we caught up, you were like, yeah, I'm really just like embracing this season of like having both my kids in school and figuring out. So that's when you were saying that, I was like, wait a second. I remember her talking about this. So she was like sort of like in between, like embracing it and like not loving it.
Right.
Yeah. So he's like, don't worry, I got you.
Right. Yep.
Here I am.
He's teaching me to slow down and let things go too, because it's a lot different when you have two already in school. Because when I had Emmett, Allie was still home.
Mm-hmm.
Like she was only 2, so she didn't even go to preschool or anything yet. And now with having 2 older kids, like, just things don't just get done. We're not home on days picking kids up and taking them to sports and like,
Do you find yourself like more relaxed with him than the other 2?
I think so. I've learned a lot more with him too.
Yeah.
I've taken time to dive into more things and being able to stay home. I've been able to stay home with him. I haven't had to go back to work. So he's been, we exclusively breastfeed, and this is the longest I've ever been able to do that without supplementing formula or, I've learned that, their guts don't fully develop until they're 6 months. So I didn't know that with the other 2, and I started giving them baby food at like 4.5, 5 months because I thought they were hungry when, it was like
different from even like, when I had my first kid to then having Paige later, like crazy how different things are.
Yeah. It is crazy.
So when you started, well, how did it start? Like, how did you go from like, just, I don't even know what to call it. I don't want to say
what's
like
the opposite of crunchy?
Like before, when you started this like deep dive into like what we're eating and what's in our foods, what was life like before, and how did it like for you and your family, and then like how did you get to a point where you're like, okay, I'm gonna do some research, I want to know what's in our food, and we're gonna make changes?
So before Jeff and I were married, I was more of a snacker. Like I could care less about eating. I might eat 1 meal a day. Like, not that they were always like super unhealthy snacks, but I was never like making sure I had that nutritious meal 3 times a day or anything. Jeff, on the other hand, he is a 3 meals a day only type of guy. So then when we got married, I started having meals and snacks. Or there were a period where we were just super busy and having a baby and a toddler that like we would literally go weeks without eating at home. Like we ate out all the time. Before or having 2 toddlers, I think it was like one of the hardest seasons of my life, I think. I just felt so tired, like exhaustion, like I couldn't function. I couldn't function, honestly, the way I was supposed to. And I was like fatigued. I would go to bed every night and my stomach was killing me, and inflammation, bloating, like my body was aching all the time. And I just knew that that's not how I was supposed to live. Like, this is not sustainable. And so, I started praying, like, God, like, help me, like, figure this out, heal my body. Like, I had no idea what was going on. And I would literally, like, this is how bad it was. I would make half a pot of coffee every morning and I would set it up the night before so that it was brewing when I got up. Like, it was finished brewing when I got up and I could just go straight to the coffee pot and pour my coffee, and I would like put sugar in it and creamer, and then I would, drink a couple cups of coffee, and then I would leave and I would go get a Starbucks drink, like a venti. And it was like their specialty coffees, that are loaded with dairy and sugar and syrups and chemicals and like all the things. And I felt like, I was in that like season of my life where I was like, I have 2 toddlers. Like, I deserve this. I deserve this coffee. Like, I would justify it. And I would crash, like 2 hours later, and I would feel awful again. Like, I could hardly stay awake. Like, I couldn't wait for bedtime. I couldn't wait for nap time. I was taking naps with my kids. I was not being productive. I just felt like I couldn't get through the day without a nap and eating all this coffee. And so I started praying about it, and God, He started leading me to a lot of scriptures, and I was just being convicted, honestly, of the way that I was beating my family. And then, so I wrote down a couple that first, I have to tell you guys something. Do y'all know what our message was on Sunday at my church? It was theology of physicality. He literally talked 2 days ago about holistic living and why it's biblical. And I was like, this is crazy, because I knew that we were about to record this, but
Yeah.
he literally just went over like why it's biblical to choose health and like not overindulge. And like, he just took me back to where I started and where I got. Like, it was just a really refreshing reminder of why I did this. But anyways, one of the scriptures that I was led to was 1 Corinthians 6:20. And it says, "Do you not know that your bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit, who is in you, whom you have received from God? You are not your own. We were bought at a price. Honor God with your bodies." And then another scripture was Romans 12:1-2. So here's what I want you to do. God helping you take your everyday, ordinary life, your sleeping, eating, going to work, and walking around life, and place it before God as an offering. Embracing what God does for you is the best thing you can do for Him. Don't become so well adjusted to your culture that you fit into it without even thinking. Instead, fix your attention on God. You'll be changed from the inside out. Readily recognize what He wants from you and quickly respond to it. Unlike the culture around you, always dragging you down to its level of immaturity, God brings the best out of you, develops wealth for maturity in you. And so I really had, he kept kind of nudging me to start paying attention to what our culture does. And then so as I'm digging, I find that our FDA has over 10,000 approved ingredients and additives in our food. And Europe has 400. And that was like it made me mad because like even our own American companies have different recipes for other countries, and they're making our food with poison. And then, just finding that there's so many like cancer is just becoming more and more in kids. ADHD, like there's so many more kids that are being put on medications for that. It's all these different symptoms, and it's like nobody's paying attention to our gut, like what we're putting into our bodies every day. So as I started like diving into that, I started with the 4-week gut protocol that Beachbody has, and it's basically just the elimination diet. But I literally had no idea how to start. I needed something or somebody to like tell me what to not eat and what I can eat, because I had absolutely no idea how to do that. So I did that, and I actually stuck with it. I didn't do gluten, dairy, corn. I limited red meat for a while. About 6 months, I stuck to this, and I felt so good, like so much better. Going back to when Allie was toddler, and I gave her some Tylenol right before her nap. And Allie, like if you know Allie, she is just so full of joy and life, and she like loves people, and she's just such a joy to be with. And I gave her this Tylenol, like like somebody just flipped the switch, and she was just like raging in anger and was like trying to claw my face, pull my hair. She was trying to throw things at me like it was not my baby, and I did not know what in the world was going on. And come to find out, it was the red dye and the Tylenol. So she never got that again. But it was just crazy how much those dyes are affecting our kids, and how they literally cannot control their emotions and their thoughts and their actions over it.
Okay, so now you guys are totally red dye free, among other things. How do you handle like going over to relatives or like grandparents?
That
example,
was difficult at first.
Yeah.
I don't, again, like we learn the why,
Mm-hmm.
and then I just try to share the whys. Like I think it's so important that we know why we're doing what we're doing. Whereas I feel like growing up, I just, you try to be healthy, but nobody ever taught you why you were, why is a salad better for you than a cheeseburger from McDonald's? Like we weren't really taught why. So I tried to share those things, and they've been on board. I think, they were kind of like confused at first, like, and honestly, when I first started, like, I was afraid that I wouldn't stick with it.
Mm-hmm.
I was afraid that it was just going to be like a temporary thing. Like I've done my entire life, like I try these things and I never stick to it. But then once I think we all were seeing the difference in the kids.
Yeah. Especially like I feel like it's so much easier to make like permanent changes for your kids than yourself.
Yes. Yeah.
It shouldn't be that way, but
Our pediatrician said, I can't remember. It was probably my husband, because he asked people like a million questions about what they do. But he was like, I became a pediatrician because, adults don't do healthy things that you tell them that they need to do for themselves. But parents will always make sure to do what they need to do for their kids.
Yeah,
I never thought about that.
It's easier.
Yeah.
But I think I also kind of started early enough to where my kids, like they didn't really have all of the junk for very long before I was like, this is not working for us.
Yeah, that's where I was going to ask, like, were they, and maybe they weren't old enough to even really know what was happening, but at first, like when you like, all right, husband, kids, this is what we're going to do. Were they like, yeah, no? Or were they like, okay, let's do this?
My kids were pretty easy. I think they were just young enough that, again, I just told them why we weren't going to eat that. This is going to make you feel sick. This is, and Emmett already has a dairy allergy. So, he's got tummy troubles if he gets dairy. And I think a lot of the junk that is added to a lot of the food that we eat is a lot of the reason why they would have tummy issues too. And so once, they learned the why, it's been pretty easy. And a lot, I always like substitute out things, if the class is having a birthday and there's cake being brought in or whatever, then, I'll get a lot of there are places that are dye free. So, Panera does not have dye in their cookies. Dunkin' doesn't have dye in their donuts. These things are not healthy, but when it's a birthday party or a special occasion or something, then we substitute it out for something else. We do. The kids love Ollipops. I don't know if you guys have drank those, but that's like a treat for them. So if they're we go to a birthday party, I'll stop by Target or Martin's and get them an Ollipop, and they're like they're fine. They don't care anymore. They've never been allowed to drink soda, but it's a treat for them. Ups, there's definitely options out there. They're just a little more expensive, unfortunately.
Yeah. I know you hear a lot, like, especially when we're talking about grandparents and stuff, you hear a lot just with that generation, like, well, I grew up on that. I'm fine.
Yeah, I hear that a lot.
Yeah. And well, yeah, you ate that and you are fine. But if you look at the ingredients today versus
40 years
ago, it's way, way different.
Right.
Because these things are allowed. And even I know there's a huge misconception with like our organic food, like not just because it says organic. He's like, what? So yeah, I think there's just, and I'm hoping, there's a huge movement right now for change with our foods. And I'm really hoping that
me too.
We see those.
Yes. Yeah. So you said that Jeff was never a snacker. Do the kids snack a lot, or do you
They do.
What kinds of things do you keep on hand?
Yeah, I try to keep. Honestly, I try to keep fruit in sight. I try to make things every now and then. My goal is always to have something like every week, and when it's gone, it's gone. But that doesn't always happen either. But like granola bars are super easy to make. Like the thing right now is I found a Pinterest recipe for chocolate chip cookies that literally has like 4 tablespoons of coconut sugar in it, and they love them. They're like soft and gooey.
So there's no like prepackaged snacks that you would like.
My thing is, if you pick up a package and there's a paragraph of ingredients, it usually goes back on the shelf because we were not made for a mouthful of ingredients that we can't pronounce. If you can't pronounce, they're really, if you think about making a cookie, like there's literally like 6 things that go into that cookie. There's no reason why there should be 25 ingredients in a cookie.
Yeah.
Siete. I think it's called siete.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's actually an equal. Yeah, like their chips are good. They have seasonings that we like.
Yeah, that's another thing where you wouldn't think there'd be like a ton of preservatives. Like seasoning should be pretty easy, right? But like there's a ton of junk in those if you're not careful.
Right.
Really quick, while we're on the topic of company foods and companies that are really good about natural, non-GMO, no red dyes, all the things, we're going to take a moment for a commercial break. Hey there, podcast listeners. We're excited to share a special message from our sponsor, White House Foods, a family-owned and operated gym located right in Winchester, Virginia. At White House Foods, they're not just about great taste. They're dedicated to quality, sustainable, and family traditions. For over 100 years, they've been planting and nurturing apple trees to bring the best apple products on the market. Whether you're craving delicious applesauce, tangy organic apple cider vinegar, or rich apple butter, White House Foods has got you covered with their all-natural, high-quality offerings. So the next time you're shopping, remember to look for White House Foods products. Taste the difference that comes from family care and dedication. Visit their website at whitehousefoods.com or look for them where you shop for your groceries. Thank you, White House Foods, for sponsoring our podcast and for bringing the best of Virginia's apple harvest to our tables.
We asked my husband's mom how they did after they stayed with them a few days, and she's like, yeah, they did good. Magnolia, we took a walk, and she tripped and fell and scraped her knee up a little bit, but it didn't bleed. But, we cried for a good 4 houses, and then she was fine.
Oh, my goodness.
Sorry. Yeah. She's
like just like missing you, too.
I know. She had a lot of emotions when we came back, too.
Oh, my gosh. This brings back a memory when we were in Epcot. And I think Emily might have been with us, and I'd walked into a store with her maybe. And Jeff stayed out with the kids. Yes, this is all coming back. And Allie like tripped on the sidewalk, like the curb, and fell. And Jeff is like, "You're fine, get up." Well, somebody noticed. And
Yeah.
was like, "Are you okay?" And Allie just totally melted. Was like, "I think I sprained my ankle." Like all this. And Jeff like, "You're fine, get up." Like he watched her like she barely fell. Like it wasn't nothing big. And she acted like she couldn't walk. And Jeff was like, "Allie, get up. Like you're fine." And she was like having this huge meltdown to where like a whole crowd of people were standing around her.
And they're like, why isn't this dad carrying?
Yeah. Jeff was like waiting for somebody to call CPS on him because he was just kind of like, "Get up, Allie, you're fine." And I think he had to admit to him, and maybe he did.
Benjamin, when he was little, if he fell or anything, I'd be like, "There's no blood, it's all good. No blood, it's all good." Well, I thought that was like genius parenting because he would just get up and be like, "Okay, no blood, let's go."
Yeah.
But when there's blood, like,
Oh no.
he was playing basketball in his Crocs, which I told him not to do because he was wet from swimming.
Yeah.
So like wet Crocs. Like, you're like, "There's no blood, it's all good." Like sometimes there can be blood and it can still be good.
Yeah.
It's natural to me now. I said it to Magnolia one day, and she was like, "No blood, okay." But then I was like, "Crap!" But there is.
No, she doesn't do that for me. I'm like, "No blood, no bone."
Yeah.
Go. And she, and then meanwhile, like her little sister Rosemary, she's like, she could break her leg and like we wouldn't know because she just keeps
She just
hobbling.
keeps going.
Yeah, she just keeps going. I'm like, yeah, it's like having a little princess and a little tank, and like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Opposite.
yeah,
They're
very
always opposite.
They really are.
Yeah, so adorable. No, this morning, so Rosemary has gotten bit like I cannot tell you how many times this year at school, and
Oh.
I've like started getting a little concerned. I'm like, but then I'm like, no, like she's probably instigating it because I know like a lot of the kids in her class like still have like their pacifiers. And when Magnolia just uses a passy to sleep, but she'll sometimes have in the morning, and Rosemary will just like get close to her, like she's gonna get a hug, and then like bam, snatch it, and then put it in her mouth and smile.
Oh,
And just look at Magnolia like, you know? And I'm like, I just know that's what she's doing at school. So like,
oh no.
if you gotta bite her, like, okay, you know what you gotta do, you know?
Oh my
I'm like, I
goodness.
cannot with this kid.
So getting back to like this, I don't even know what to call it, like, because I don't have like healthy eating because it should just be like real eating, like eating real
Yeah,
food.
normal.
Not eating a bunch
Yeah.
of crap. If, someone like me, say, is super overwhelmed, don't know where to start, like, what would be like the first step? What would be like easy first step? And then like, is it possible? Like, can you like slowly start?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I think it's really
Yeah,
overwhelming.
it
and I've
is,
thought
yeah,
about
for
this
sure.
before, but then I'm like, forget it. Like, and I know like it's so easy to be like, "Oh, everything causes cancer these days. Like, we'll be fine." And like,
Yeah,
that's
for sure.
I know
That
a lot of
was-
people like I hear that a lot, and sometimes I'm one of those people because it's like it's overwhelming. And like with Benjamin, he was so specific eating
Mhm.
that it was just like the things he will eat. I'm just so happy. Recommendations for Cheetos substitution.
Yes. Have you heard of Lesser Evil?
No,
So you can literally get them at like Five Below, but they have their own Cheetos, and it literally it's made with like, I think it's like corn, coconut oil, and like salt, and they're
are they still like
powder.
that orangey color?
Yes.
Okay,
Well, I mean,
because-
they're not as like vibrant,
But
yes,
Okay,
but they
that's
definitely
where
still have
we-
the orangey color. So if you're just trying to do like small changes, like say, like this month you just want to cut the dyes out, Aldi's has a lot of option. Like I think all of Aldi brand is dye free. So like they have their own Doritos that I mean it still has like the bad seed oils and stuff in it, but if you're making a small step and just saying this month we're not doing dyes, and that's a good option. And we still get them every now and then,
yeah,
you can't be perfect all the time.
yeah.
All the time, especially here.
And I know I'm not even gonna look at you when I say that.
I know what you're going to say.
Disappointment. Church Cokes. We after church go and pick up.
Church. It was like church.
I know. I was like, what?
And we call them our church Cokes, and it's after church diet. Well, mine's Diet Coke. Jason's is regular Coke. The kids, Paige's tea, and Benjamin just like discovered sweet tea. He other than sweet tea, and like he literally drinks like this much. He's like, I needed this.
I needed that.
Otherwise,
Really hit the spot.
yeah, he's like cold water all the way.
Yeah.
But yeah, they all have their own thing. Audrey's Dr. Pepper.
Right.
So that's another one. I'm like, ugh, I don't know if I can give that up. My one.
Well, I'm so hopeful that our country will just turn ourselves around because we went to Iceland for spring break last year, and the kids got to indulge in their first Cokes ever. Because we literally looked at the ingredients, and we had like 3 or 4 things in there to make a Coke. Like it's literally just carbonated water with sugar, like actual sugar, not like high fructose corn syrup. And so we were like, we're on vacation. Sure, go for it. And so, like, that was their favorite. That was their highlight of the whole trip. They still to this day are like, can we go back to Iceland?
So we could have Coke?
And I'm like, we're not going to Iceland to have Coke. But we do have some upcoming fun trips planned for the spring break. We'll be back in Europe, other parts of Europe. So they're like all excited to go have Coke. Yeah. Like
I have read where like that is hopefully a plan. No high fructose corn syrup in Coke. And yeah, like that would be a game changer. But have you ever done the Coke from Costco? Because that Coke does not have high fructose corn syrup.
From Costco?
The glass bottles.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I know my cousin
Refresco is what it says on it.
Yeah.
That's how you know it's like
it's not made in America.
There you go.
And I can't remember where they're made.
I think it's Mexico.
Is it Mexico?
Is it?
Yeah, it says
like it's like apparently it's like the realest Coke you can get.
Yeah.
And my cousin like swears by them.
Yeah.
Costco Coke in the fridge. So good.
Yeah. But I'm just so hopeful that I feel like more of America is waking up to realizing how sick we are
Yeah.
and how negative it is impacting our lives. And, that older generation is like, well, we ate this. And I'm like, no, you didn't.
Yeah.
Like, you literally had French fries from McDonald's was beef tallow and sea salt and your potatoes. And now there's like 15 things in a French fry. Like, why is there 15 things in the French fries? So I'm hopeful
Like,
that...
who's keeping their French fry for like months to eat for later?
Yeah. Gross. Yeah. They actually, I was listening to a podcast recently that was saying that I think it was a study done in Australia maybe that was saying that like having a French fry, like a serving of fries from fast food that is made in vegetable oil is like equivalent to a pack of cigarettes.
Yeah, I've read that about a hot dog too. Like a hot dog, eating a hot dog is equivalent to
Like
we had hot dogs last night.
Oh no,
our food is our cigarettes. Like that is that's where we are. It's awful. It's sad, but I'm just so hopeful that there's no good that comes out of dyes for sure. Like it makes it look more appealing. And I'm hoping that the fact that so many people are getting sick and, moms are waking up and dads too are, realizing that this is our next generation. And the enemy just doesn't try new tricks like he's used food for so long to tempt us with. And
oh, yeah. I didn't even think about it like that. Yeah.
He really irritates me. And I'm just,
he knows our weakness.
Right? Yeah. Like from the very beginning, he has used the stinking food.
Yeah. He was like, I deserve this little treat.
Exactly. Was I not saying this?
Yes.
About my darn Starbucks.
We literally talked about that, about like motherhood. Like it's like I don't know what it is. I go through these phases where I'm like, oh, I deserve this.
Yeah.
The kids go down for a nap and I'm like, what can
Yes. Yeah.
And it's saving that in the fridge. That piece of cake is all mine.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't really want it. Like when you really think about it, like I don't really want it. But it's like, I deserve this. Or like, all right, I'm on my way home. What treat am I picking today for a successful day? Like,
but then like also Jesus was always showing up at parties. He was going to festivals. He was having dinner. Like he made food for us to enjoy. But we've ruined it. Like we've ruined it. Like he did not intend for us to have all these chemicals. No.
All the chemicals.
Exactly. Like, why? And I just think I cannot wait to go sit at the table with Jesus and have that feast, because those we have never tasted how good it is. Like, can you imagine food without like glyphosate and
having the Coke in heaven?
Yeah,
Heaven's Coke.
not gonna harm us, and yeah, like just having real food. It'll be a good feast.
I think that's such a good place to.
Yeah. So good. You're. Thank you guys so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So fun. And we have a little gift for you up there.
Aww.
And there's some chocolates in there. I don't know if they're.